in order to articulate, a lot of us don't even know what we need to begin with and can articulate that to a person. So for me, going back to coming out of my divorce, I had to be clear about knowing that I didn't want a relationship just yet. Even when I was starting to date,
Mm-hmm.
not date, but interact, engage, whatever, I
Sure.
had to be clear about articulating that to people showing up in my space. And I think that's important, but you got to be healthy enough to do that. You have to spend enough time with self to enable yourself to articulate to others what you need. And it takes practice. It's not something that's automatic. It's not something overnight. Because even when you know what you need, sometimes you're not confident enough to articulate that. And I think that's one of the detriments that show up in how we engage with one another and causes a lot of trauma in male-female relationships, especially.
Okay, cool. Well, we are going to take a break right here. When we come back to, you mentioned something that I kind of want to jump into a little bit, and that's this idea of, is this dynamic unhealthy for the collective, right? For the collective community. That is why we have Relationship Friday Talks. We believe that we got to get the foundation of our communities in order in terms of that relationship dynamic. Does that then make this particular dynamic unhealthy for the community? If so, then that may be something that will cause me to reconsider. Because on an individual level, person to person, I don't see a single thing wrong with it. If you can tell me that this is somehow inherently unhealthy for the community, that may be something I can listen to and be like, okay, that makes some sense.
The brothers are winning. Like it's the numbers wise. You guys hold the best hand. So if you all in the are largely advocate of this, that leaves us as women in a really bad position.
I dig it.
So I don't know if you necessarily agree with Tucson though, right? I don't know. The brothers are winning in regards to having their choice of woman.
Mm-hmm.
They are not winning in having their choice of life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we got to get to when we start thinking about community, right? So when we start thinking about how is it problematic or is it not problematic?
Sure.
It's problematic in the sense, in the context of it's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And the very nature of humanity
Mm-hmm.
has to be selfless, right? So I tell you all the time, like when I met my child for the first time, nothing else mattered,
Right.
right?
Right.
Nothing else mattered.
Right.
I would have gave up oxygen the minute I met that boy,
Mm-hmm.
because nothing else mattered,
Mhm.
right? And that was the first time in my life I'd ever experienced that feeling.
Right.
Not to say that I've never loved, that
Sure.
no one's loved me,
But
but that was some different shit, right?
pure shit, I can't even-
Unadulterated.
no, unadulterated. But I was thinking of what do you call it? Like
I don't know.
love? What whatever? I'm tweaking. Unconditional. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
fine. But context is important, right? That's my son. You know what I mean? And we got to have context to who Tucson is itself, right? Now, I'm just laying some basic shit out. Tucson grew up in a household where I had a mother and a father. Struggled with the relationship with my mother, but my father was a god to me. You know what I mean? So with that being said, and I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the goddamn 80s and 90s. So all of my peers, I was an anomaly. Ain't nobody had no fucking daddy. That he didn't exist. Matter of fact, my daddy played daddy to all the niggas in my neighborhood.
Fact.
You know what I mean? So early on, that set a precedence in my mind that I would never abandon my children because I knew the value that shit had in my life. Then you get into this relationship with this woman and shit is way different than how you figuratively saw it, right? But because I had that kind of a rearing, it kind of created a structure in my mind that I got to, through all costs, I got to work through this, right? And as I grow, I come to different understandings. This is a classroom. A lot of the shit that I was mad at her about was really just reflections of shit I was doing myself. But I had to grow the fuck up in that moment, and I couldn't be selfish and run from the pain of the relationship. I had to grow through it.
Right.
When I look at the vast majority of us, because we don't have that kind of an anchoring, the minute some shit don't fulfill our very basic as transactional need, defeats my own ego and my own selfishness,
Sure.
we the fuck up out of there. And it doesn't produce nothing but more brokenness.
Great.
And when you start having the damn goal of selfishness, I just want to negotiate my ass to get me this car. Or I want to negotiate my ass to give me a bigger ass. Like, we don't even get, think about how stupid this shit is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real.
Like, we don't even have real tangible fucking goals, but we cannot deny the fact that children are being produced out these unions, and it's creating a mindset that this is the only value of this shit anyway. This pussy can get me a new booty, right? Or this dick can get me a PS5. That's some stupid shit. It's stupid. Regardless of the social norm, the universal law say we need each other. That's what the universal law say, right? If you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddha, you follow any of that shit.
Right.
The union you create is to create new life.
Right.
To sustain this goddamn universe. Not to get Jordans. But we've bought into the same capitalist, white, Caucasoid philosophy that things are more important than people. Now we just use people to get the things. And we start to justify the shit, whatever new name we want to put on the shit, whatever new label we want to put on the shit. It don't justify it though. It's just a lie on top of another lie on top of another lie. The outcome's gonna always be the same. This fucking function. Period.
Exactly.
So I believe.
Go ahead, Jules.
Go ahead. So I believe that absolutely there's a dysfunction there. That's how we're looking at it. But I think that there's another side to this. I think that part of that is survival, in some degree, because we do need companionship. And if the process of finding a quality relationship is not working, then this other thing might. And their selfishness is bad, but there is value to loving others as yourself, which implies you have to have a certain level of self to be able to be healthy and functional, period. And so that means that you have to identify your needs and your wants. And that means that you have to be deliberate as it relates to having a certain quality of life about those things showing up.